Alright, so I'm going to be replacing the battery and the charge port on this Dell XPS 159550. Alright, so first thing we're going to need is a PH1 or JAS1 screwdriver. And then we'll also need a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is remove all the PH1 or JAS1 screws. You want to keep them all in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way you do that, put the flat side down like this in the pattern you remove them on your desk or whatever magnetic surface you have. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, after you've done that, you're going to switch over to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. This one, the customer lost a couple screws, so I still have to use the PH1 or JS1 screwdriver for a couple of these other screws. Alright, so again, you would be using the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver for these, but because the customer lost a few of those screws, I'm using this screwdriver. Alright, let's go ahead and use the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. If this video helps you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to upgrade and repair their devices. If it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright, so let's go ahead and get all these screws out. Again, this is a customer's computer. I don't own the computers in my videos, so by the time you see them, I actually won't have it to be able to show you anything additional. So if you don't get your answers from the videos, there's a good chance I might not be able to show you or answer the question, but feel free to ask. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove all these screws. Alright, now that we got all these screws out, this cover might be easier to remove than normal, but usually what you do is you can use a pry tool. I just use my fingernails. Alright, I get in the gaps here, and then I pull with my thumbs while rotating with my fingernails, so basically doing like this motion. Okay, just going all the way around, going around these side edges, and yeah, this one is coming off super easy. So here you go. There's a thermal pad here for the SSD. Alright, so this is a M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. On this computer, they actually had a couple issues. So the hinge here was actually ripping out of this and it was pulling up. So I'll show how to kind of work on that as well. Alright, so anyways, let's go ahead and remove the battery. We're going to switch back to the PH1 or JS1 screwdriver, and we're going to remove all these screws. So they actually have little arrows pointing to these screws. Let me actually zoom in a bit here. Oops, too much. Okay, so they actually have arrows pointing to the screws so that you know where they come from or where they go. I believe this model, they have two types. So they have a shorter battery that will fit here, and then they can fit a hard drive slot here. So if you wanted to have another hard drive, keep that in mind. You can actually change the battery to a smaller battery if you don't really need the battery life, and then you can add a second hard drive. You will need to buy the hard drive caddy and the cable though. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove all these screws. So they actually tell you here to disconnect and remove the battery before accessing the rest of the parts. The main thing you would need to remove the battery for is the LCD LVDS connector, though if you want to be extra safe, you can remove the battery no matter what you're working on. Alright, so now that we got all the screws out, we're going to lift this up slightly and move it over to the side at an angle like this. Then to remove this connector, I just use my fingernails at the raised wings area, and I kind of just wiggle that and just keep wiggling, and eventually it should pop out. Alright, just like that. Okay, there we go. So we got the old battery. Here you can see it's like inflated. So we got a replacement battery, and the replacement battery, as you can see, is a lot better. It's all flat. There's no inflated parts. Okay, so we're gonna set the battery aside. Okay, so here you can see the trackpad connector. You got this connector, which connects these lights, the notification, I don't know what you call those, the status lights or something, as well as the microphones are right here. Okay, and then you actually have the keyboard connector under here and the keyboard backlight connector under there. So these connections are underneath the motherboard, so keep that in mind. If you're replacing the keyboard or the keyboard backlight, you will have to take the motherboard out. Alright, here's the connector for the hard drive that I was talking about. Again, if you wanted to get the 2.5-inch SATA hard drive, you need the SATA adapter for this, as well as the bracket that holds the hard drive in place. If you're putting a 2.5-inch SATA SSD here, you probably don't need to worry about the bracket so much, but if you're putting a spinning disk, then you'll want to get that bracket as well. Alright, M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD, one screw. It pops up at an angle and you can pull it out. Basically like the RAM, but instead of a screw, it has these two latches. Move them to the side, pops up, and then you can pull that out. Here you can see PC4 2133P. You should be able to use any PC4 2133P RAM. So if you want, you can get two 16 gig sticks. Sometimes they'll support faster or slower speeds as well, so if you want, you can try those out, but I wouldn't. I usually don't experiment on them like that, so I wouldn't know. Alright, anyways, after disconnecting the battery to be extra safe, I'm going to slowly, carefully open up the screen. If you have broken hinges, you want to be extra careful. You might have to like hold the hinges down as you open it. Alright, but anyways, let's go ahead and slowly, carefully open this up. Alright, and then I'm going to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds. This will drain any residual power and make it a lot safer to work on. Alright, so we're just going to hold it for about another 5-10 seconds. Okay, and then that should be good. If you don't do this, there's more risk that you can damage your computer, so it's always a good thing to do. Alright, so if your hinge thing was broken here, after opening it and then closing it, this part will be lifted up, and then you can actually get some JB weld and put it in between the two layers and push the hinge down, and that should fix it. So I actually did that. I don't know if you can see. Actually, let me take out this LCD LVDS connector here and I'll show you that. So we're gonna remove this PH1 or JS1 screw and this metal bracket. We need to take this out to replace the charge port, so we're gonna do that. Right after that, you can actually lift this plastic tab here up. Okay, so as you can see, there's like a little tab that you can get underneath, and then we're going to use that to pull this connector off. All right, so just pull it straight up just like that, and then we're going to unroute it from here. Actually, let me zoom in here. Okay, so we're going to unroute this as well. Okay, and unroute this. It is kind of stuck there, so you kind of have to work it. You might have to lift the fan up slightly here as you kind of lift this out. Okay, you might have to also push this down a bit. It's kind of being a pain. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got that out. We're going to also peel up this adhesive here. Okay, so peel that up just like that and move that out of the way. There we go. Now we're going to actually undo these 3 screws. To make this easier to work on, what I'm going to do is I'm opening the screen. I'm opening the laptop slightly. So we're going to open this. All right. And then while we have it open like that, we're going to go ahead and remove the 3 screws holding the hinge in place. Again, keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. If you mix them up, you can damage your computer. Okay, so I'm holding the palm rest assembly up with my hand over here. That's very important. You don't want it to be holding onto the hinge with just like 1 or 2 screws. Okay, all right. So now that we got all 3 screws out, we're going to slowly, carefully close the laptop down. And oh, we have to be careful here because as you can see, it's putting pressure on that. So I might not be able to do it this way. Let's see. I'm going to open it up even more while holding the hinge together. Okay, so I'm opening the screen more, and then I'm trying to lift this up. Okay, as you can see, it's getting caught there, so I guess I won't be able to do it this way. We are going to have to take out the other side as well. So let's go ahead and take the other side out. I'm going to actually hold this down, I guess, and close the screen up. Okay. All right, and let's go ahead and remove, I guess we're going to remove the wireless card antennas as well. So there's 1 screw here. Actually, I'll just remove the wireless card. I don't want to remove all 3 antennas because there's a bit more risk. So after we've got that bracket out, oh, it looks like there's supposed to be this little plastic piece here that helps hold that screw in place, but it fell off. Okay. So normally this plastic piece will be attached to the back of this screw, and it should stay in there, but it came out, so I'm going to try and screw that back in. Sorry, going out a few. Okay, so normally this plastic should stay on there and hold that screw into place. Okay, now that we got that, we're just gonna lift up the wireless card slightly, as you can see, and then I'm gonna use this raised part to help pull the wireless card out, wiggling it a little. There we go. And we're just gonna move this out of the way. So here you can see if you want gray wires over here, white wire, and then black wire. They actually label it with the colors of the triangles. All right, and there's also this cable here. So we're gonna have to be careful with that as well. So we're gonna peel this up. There's a lot of slack here actually, so I'm gonna leave that one. What I'm gonna do to make this easier, let me zoom out here, see if I can show this. Okay, so, okay, here we go. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna open up the screen about 90 degrees, okay? I'm gonna hold on to this hinge because I took the screws out already, but I'm gonna open this about 90 degrees, okay? Again, you want to hold the hinge down. You don't want to accidentally damage anything by that. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this upside down. Okay. Okay, let me move this out of the way. So we got that. Okay, I didn't open it quite 90 degrees, so I need to hold the hinge down and open it some more. All right, now that we got that, and I'm hanging this over the edge of my desk, I'm going to remove the 3 screws here holding this other hinge into place. Okay, it helps to kind of make sure to hold the screen up. All right, and we're going to just remove these 3 other screws. Okay. All right, and we're just going to slowly, carefully lift the screen. Again, I'm leaving this cable in, so I'm going to be careful with that. We're just removing the charge port here. So let's see if we can lift this up without having to take that cable out. So I'm wiggling this, all right, and there we go. I can move this over to the side, and I'm gonna hold on to the screen just so this cable doesn't get yanked out. Then I'm gonna take this one screw out here that's holding the DC jack or charge port into place. Okay, I'm gonna take that out. There's that plastic bit, so I'm gonna use some tweezers to help make it easier to get that out. Okay, and then we got the charge port here. I might have accidentally glued it into place when I fixed the hinge. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this connector. Same thing, I just use my fingernails and wiggle that connector to pull it out. And hopefully it's not glued in too strong and I can pull the connector out, all right? So you go out like that, and then we're just gonna pull this connector out. Again, I think I accidentally glued this into place, so it's gonna be tough. Normally it shouldn't be stuck that strong. There we go. Okay, so we got the charge port out. I don't know if you can see, but there's some JB weld in there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the replacement charge port, get that in. I know it's hard to see. Let me actually zoom in a bit here. I can rotate it like this, I think. Okay, I just have to be a little careful. Okay, so we're just getting this replacement charge port into place. Okay, we're gonna get that screw in to hold it. I don't know if you can see, I JB welded this metal piece into place so it doesn't come back out. So whatever glue they use here, it doesn't hold well onto this carbon fiber stuff. So I had to use JB Weld to hold it back. All right, anyways, we're gonna wrap this cable back over and we're gonna plug this back in. You do wanna make sure that you put it back the same way. I probably should have marked it, but here you can see the red wires you want going to the outside of the computer and the black wires going towards the fan. So they put it like this. It's hard to tell. You're gonna have to twist it over and make sure it goes the right way. Okay, so we're gonna get that lined up. Pinch those 2 pieces into place. Right, we have some excess wiring here, so just kind of move it out of the way. All right. Okay, and now we're just going to put the screen back into place. Let's zoom back out. Sorry, I know it's kind of blurry, but hopefully you guys get the point. We're just gonna swing this back over. Okay, make sure the cables end up back on top. Get the hinges back into place, just like that. Drop it down into those little mounts, okay? And then we're just gonna get all those screws back in. So let's go ahead and get the 3 screws on this side first. I'm gonna actually add some thread locker afterwards just to make sure it holds down really well and doesn't come loose, okay? So we're going to get these 3 screws in first. Okay. Just like this. Let me actually just put one of these screws, and then we're going to close the screen so that way I can zoom in and show you guys better. Okay. All right. So now we're going to close up the screen. You want to slowly, gently close this. Right? If you want, you can actually push on the hinges while you close it to keep the pressure away from the from ripping out the hinges. Okay. So got that. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit more. All right, so now we're gonna add some thread locker here. So I like to use the red thread locker. All right. And what we're gonna do, you don't put very much of this stuff, just very little. Okay, just like that. If you don't have this, someone told me you can use like some nail polish varnish or something. But anyways, I'm gonna use this. Okay, get that in, get the other screw, same thing, add the thread locker on there. Okay, tighten that in. I'm gonna get the other screw out. I like to use this stuff on the hinge screws because a lot of times the open and closing motion can cause those hinge screws to come loose, and that loose fit can actually cause it to rip out the hinges or break the hinges. Okay, so there we go. We got those 3. We're gonna go over to the other side and do the other 3. Okay. So on this model, they had, it's very common. I see that hinge next to the power button break a lot. I didn't show it on video, but basically you just remove those pieces, put JB Weld underneath, and stick it back down. Okay. All right. The reason I didn't show that on camera was because that one I have to let it sit for 15 hours, and I kind of didn't want to record twice. So there we go. All right, we'll get the last screw here. There we go. All right, so now we got that in. Okay, so we got all 6 screws, I guess, on the hinges. Let's go ahead and put the wireless card back into place. Line it up, get it slightly at an angle, pinch the 2 pieces together. There we go. Put that back down. Get the metal bracket with the screw in it back into place. Okay, and we'll get this in as well. Make sure, try and keep this metal bar straight so that it holds down all the wireless antennas. Okay, they also had this metal piece coming up, which to fix that, I also used JB Weld, but I removed the speaker here. I'll kind of show you here. All right, let's go ahead and remove the 2 screws. To remove this, you do have to unthread these cables here. So you kind of lift this up, you can unthread it over here. Okay. So unthread this cable here. Once you get enough, then you can go to the other side. You can lift this side up, and same thing, you want to unthread this. I'm not going to undo the whole thing, but basically after that I had to get underneath this piece. So this magnesium alloy, whatever this is made of, was separating from the carbon fiber as well. So I pulled it up, put some JB Weld under there, and then stuck it back down. So if yours is coming apart there as well, you'll want to keep that in mind. That's how you would fix that. Okay. Let's go ahead now and get all of this back into place. All right, so we're going to get all of this in. Okay, good. Get all of that in. Get that in place, and then we'll get this piece in place as well. Okay, there we go. And then we'll get those 2 screws back in. If you're wondering, the CPU and the GPU are soldered into place, so you can't upgrade them. Okay. Let me see. Did I go over everything? You got the fan connector over here for this fan connector over here for this fan. I believe the fans are attached to this piece. I'm not sure. I see 2 screws here. I'm not going to try and take them out, but yeah. All right, so let's see here. There's some junk in there. That doesn't want to come out. Let's try with the tweezers. Okay. All right, so now we're going to put the LCD LVDS connector back in. Let me see if I can show this. This charge port cable is a little bit longer than the original one, so I'm gonna have to try and keep it out of the way, or maybe route it a different way here. Okay. All right, and now we're just going to reconnect this. So I'm gonna first put this adhesive tape strip back in. I'm gonna try and keep it the same way it was before. Okay. Just like that. Okay, we'll stick that down. Okay, now we're just going to route this cable back over. Get that back under the fan here. Okay, just like that. Get that over there. Okay, I'm going to route it back over. Line this thing up. Once you get it all lined up, push it down into place. Good. Okay, we're going to get the metal bracket. Get this part lined up here with this raised metal piece here. All right, just like that. And then we're going to tighten this screw into place. Just like this. Let me see if I'm getting something caught wrong here. It doesn't feel right. Make sure that's in. Make sure all these cables are out of the way. Okay. All right, now let's get this metal piece back on. There we go. And then we'll get the screw in. There we go, perfect. Okay, now let's go ahead and get the replacement battery into place. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Hopefully you guys can see the whole thing. Maybe zoom out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so same thing with the battery. You want to check the old one, make sure you get it the right way. Okay, so the red wires go this way, the black wires go out towards the outer edge. Let's go ahead and plug this in. Pinch the 2 pieces together. All right, get that lined up. There we go. Let's get the battery swung back over. Okay. Make sure it goes into place and you get those little raised bumps lined up. Good. All right, now let's go ahead and get all these screws back in. Okay. So got this screw here. You want to be extra careful now, again, because the battery is connected. You don't want to end up touching any metal parts together and end up shorting anything. All right. But other than that, that's pretty much it. We're just going to get all these screws back in and put the bottom cover back on. If you are missing some of your screws, the corner screws where the hinges are actually the most important ones. So if you can, try to get some screws in those corners, because those actually help stabilize the hinge and keep it from tearing it out from the casing. All right, which already happened with this laptop. So anyways, let's go ahead and zoom out a bit and put the bottom cover back on. Okay, so the bottom cover, you just get it all lined up here. All right, push everything into place. If yours clips, it'll clip into place, but again, something is wrong with this one. So yeah, I think their battery was bulging out and probably broke those clips. But anyways, all right, let's get these middle screws in first. Okay, and then you can go ahead and get in all the rest of the screws. Again, 2 of my screws were missing for this customer's laptop, so I had to use some PH1 or JS1 screws here that fit. Okay. All right, and now let's go ahead and switch to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver and put back the rest of the screws. Okay, so we'll get this one here. All right, and that's pretty much all there is to it. You're welcome to stay as I put back the rest of the screws. But yeah, If this video helped you guys, again, please like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to upgrade and repair their devices. If it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Again, every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. These are customer computers, so keep that in mind. By the time you see this video, I likely won't have it anymore. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right. Let's drop this. Bye.